Welcome back. Today, you, aka baddest query writer around, are going to add 2 more tools into your toolkit. The first thing we are going to introduce is aliasing, aka renaming your column names and table names and making your life easier. The next topic we are going to chat about is order by, or putting your result sets in an order that makes sense for the user. After today's lesson, you will know how to rename columns and tables with aliasing, and how to put your result set in order with order by. Aliasing is the way you can rename columns or tables in your query. Why you would want to rename tables will be clearer in later lessons. We won't focus too much on that today, but why you would want to rename column names we'll really touch on. So if you have a column with a really long name, you can give it a more pleasing, shorter name. So how will adding an alias look in your query? It's pretty simple. After the column name, you would type the word as, and then follow that by the alias name. You can think of this as saying, I am renaming this column as this alias. Now, I find it helpful to add in the word as when getting used to aliasing, but although SQL recognizes what it means, it is not actually required. You could simply leave a space between the column name and the alias, and SQL would understand that the word after the space is the alias, like so. Column 1, space, alias, comma, column 2, space, alias, comma, column 3, space, alias. So how would this look in a query? We have given subject ID the alias of subject and party ID the alias of party. So how does that really help us? Well, when you review the result set, you change the column heading. So the first column now has the heading of subject instead of subject ID, and the second column now has the heading of party instead of party ID. Not all that exciting, but let's look at a more compelling example. Remember in the last lesson when we were making calculated columns, adding party scores and behavior scores? Well, the column names defaulted to the calculations, which is not necessarily that pretty. So a big plus in aliasing is that you can make better column names for calculated columns. Let's look at that query where we obtained dress score plus behavior score. The result set would look something like this. Notice the column heading is dress score plus behavior score. Kind of a clunky column heading, right? Well, we could rename this to something more fun. We could rename it super score. Now the rows returned in the result set would be exactly the same, but the column heading would now be super score. Much better, right? Another area that aliasing can be helpful is when you have queries where you are selecting from multiple tables and you have to specify what table you are selecting from. We'll talk about using multiple tables in later lessons, but let's take a quick look at how this will help you down the line. So let's say you are pulling information from the subjects table and the party behavior table. If you recall, subject ID is a column in both tables. If you gave the database a command like this, asking it to get you the subject ID and it is a column in 2 tables, the database is not going to be happy. You will get a confused error message from the database saying it doesn't know which table to get the subject ID from. You will actually have to specify the table where you want the column to come from by adding the table name, then a period, then the column name. So we would write select subjects.subject ID, party ID from subjects party behavior. We also have to specify in the condition the column where the subject ID is coming from. So we have where subjects.subject ID equals party behavior.subject ID. Now the database will know which table to retrieve the subject ID from. So this query will work, but as your queries become more and more complex, it is a little annoying to have to write out long table names throughout the query. You could also alias the tables as abbreviations like so. So now we're pulling from subjects as S, party behavior as PB. So then in our select statement we can say select S.subject ID, party ID. And in our where section, we can say where s.subject ID equals pb.subject ID. It may not seem like a big win now, but there will be a day when you cannot imagine your queries without aliasing. One more helpful tool and then we will send you on your way. The other topic we wanted to talk about today is something called order by. Order by lets you order your result sets in a particular way. The order by will come at the end of the query after select, from, where, and group by. So for our example, let's pretend we had a query that was just bringing back a few subject IDs. So we have subject IDs 2, 3, 6, 13, and 14. Our result sets from this query may look something like this. Note that there's not really an order to how the results are displaying in the report. For example, the subject IDs are not arranged from smallest to largest. If we did want a specific order in the report, we have to specify it. If we wanted the rows to be displayed in order by subject ID, we could add the order by to the end of our SQL statement like so. So select subject ID, first name, last name from subjects, where subject ID in 2, 3, 6, 13, 14, order by subject ID. Our result set would now look like this, with the smallest subject ID on the top column and the biggest subject ID on the bottom. Notice that the default order by will be ascending, or smallest to largest. However, if you want to order by largest to smallest, you can add DESC after the column name in the order by section, after the column you want to order by, and it will sort largest to smallest instead. DESC stands for descending. So here we have order by subject ID descending. Before I show results, what subject ID are you picturing on the first row? Again, descending means largest to smallest. So the largest subject ID is 14 and it is on the top row, and then the next largest is 13, next row, and so on. You may sometimes want to order by more than one column. For example, you want to order by subject's birth date, and then if any of the same subjects have the same birth date, you would like to order by the subject ID second. You just put all of the columns you want to order by in the order by clause, separated by commas. This is something you will likely explore further as your queries become more and more refined, but ordering by one column is plenty for now. So now we have renamed columns and tables with aliasing, and used order by to add order to our columns. So on to the next activity and then come back for the next lesson where we'll continue to grow our query writing mastery.